My name is Lauren, and for years I lived with the weight of my family's expectations pressing down on me. At 28, I'd become the go-to person to clean up everyone's messes, paying off my brother's debts, covering my parents' financial mistakes, and always putting the family first, even when it drained me emotionally and financially. I used to think that's what family was, sacrificing everything for the people you love, no matter how much it hurt. But over time, I realized that this definition of family was suffocating me. It wasn't love. It was manipulation. It all started when I received a text from my mom, Ellen, inviting me over to the house for a special surprise. My heart sank. The last time she said something like this, it ended with me co-signing a loan for my brother, Hunter, after his last company went under. I could already feel the tension building as I drove up to their house. When I walked inside, the room was filled with relatives I hadn't seen in ages. They all shouted, "Happy early birthday!" But the only thing I could feel was suspicion. My mom had a forced smile on her face, and I could sense something wasn't right. She guided me to the couch, and my dad handed me a drink, my favorite green apple gin, which I hadn't liked since I was 25. Then, my mom casually placed a leather-bound folder on the table. I opened it and froze. The first page read, "I, Madison Claire Bennett, hereby relinquish all rights to the Louise Bennett Inheritance Trust." I looked up, my voice steady, though my heart raced. "Mom, what is this?" Her forced smile remained, but I could see the unease in her eyes. "It's just a formality, honey," she said quickly, trying to brush it off. But something in me snapped. This wasn't just a formality. This was a betrayal. I closed the folder and held it in my lap, silently staring at my family. No one said a word. Everyone avoided eye contact. The tension in the room was thick enough to cut with a knife. I turned to my dad. "Dad, why would you do this? If this was really about Grandma's estate, why not just talk to me honestly?" My mom stepped forward, trying to keep her voice calm, but there was an edge. "Sweetheart, I thought it would be more convenient if the inheritance were under our management. You don't need more money. You already have everything." I smiled bitterly. "Convenient for who, Mom? Why trap me like this at a surprise party? I thought family was about trust, not financial manipulation." Uncle Ray spoke up. "Lauren, enough. You're making everyone uncomfortable." But I wasn't going to back down. I had been manipulated for far too long. Reagan, my best friend, stepped in beside me. Her calm presence was exactly what I needed in that moment. "Lauren, let's go," she said softly. I grabbed the folder, stood up, and headed for the door. As I left, my mom called out, "If you don't sign, there will be consequences." I paused, turning back to look at her. "I've lived with consequences my whole life, Mom. Now I choose clarity." I walked out of that house, not with anger, but with awareness. Reagan drove me to a small lakeside cafe where I sat and reviewed the documents more carefully. There were several attachments, including a power of attorney and a financial reallocation sheet. I realized my mom had planned to give me nothing, just use my name to make everything look legal, but they didn't know I had something they never expected: Grandma's lawyer. The next day, I met with Gerald Price, Grandma's lawyer. He handed me a USB drive with a personal video message from Grandma. The video was clear. If anyone in the family tried to coerce me into giving up the inheritance, all assets would automatically be redirected to charities. This wasn't just about money. Grandma had left me a safeguard, a plan to protect me from them. I decided it was time for my family to hear the truth. That evening, I invited them to my apartment, under the pretense of resolving everything. When they arrived, I sat them down, hit play on the projector, and Grandma's voice filled the room, exposing everything. Grandma knew exactly what was going to happen. She'd made sure I couldn't be manipulated any longer. My mom's face turned pale, my dad stared in disbelief, and Hunter avoided eye contact, but I wasn't backing down. "I'm the legal heir now, and this company, Everything it stands for belongs to me. The room was silent as I placed the signed trust documents in front of them. The truth was out, and with it came the consequences of their actions. If anyone tries to interfere with this, I said calmly, half of everything will go to charity. That night, I left them with nothing but the truth. I knew they weren't going to change overnight, but it was the beginning of my freedom. 2 weeks later, I became the CEO of Langston & Hartley, the company my grandmother had helped build. I didn't just take over, I built something better. I founded the Louise Olson Foundation, which would help those manipulated financially by their families. It was my way of giving back, not just to my grandmother's legacy, but to those who needed a way out of toxic financial ties. A few months later, my mother reached out again wanting to meet. This time it was different. They weren't asking for money, just for a chance to explain. I offered them a path forward, paying for financial counseling and treatment for their compulsive spending, but I made one thing clear. I wouldn't be their financial fallback anymore. As I stood there watching them leave, I realized I wasn't angry anymore. I had finally learned to set boundaries, not just for myself, but for my future. Now, when I walk into my office, I feel peace. Real peace. No more guilt. No more manipulation. Just me living my truth. And that's when I understood. True family isn't about blood ties. It's about those who stay when you dare to live as your full self. And I had finally found that within myself.